Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC right here on this Monday night with co-host Will Miles. You can find him at Will Miles SEC. And we'll get into the Monday press conference, everything Billy Napier had to say about, Will, standing firm on his play calling and everything they worked with DJ Lagway in the bye week. We'll hear from DJ Lagway as well about what he worked on last week and kind of searching for that spark for this Gator offense. So, it's a bye week. I hope we were talking a little bit, Will, before this. You said you enjoyed the bye week. I did too. Look, it didn't matter how good or bad Florida was going to be. I was circling this weekend anyway because I knew it was a Florida bye week. It didn't matter. In the news, there were so many good college football games that were going to be on this weekend, and it delivered. So good or bad, I was looking forward to this weekend anyway, and the sport of college football absolutely delivered.
Yeah, man, the only game I really watched was the Florida State game. Other than that, I was at baseball tournaments and Hershey Park and all sorts of other stuff. It was nice to check out for a weekend, that's for sure. And, I think most Gator fans kind of feel like that too. It's like, hey, Billy Napier can't let me down again this weekend. So little did we know he's going to have a press conference today. So I'm sure we'll talk about that, some of the stuff that he said. But you know what? It was nice to see some of the rivals lose. It's nice to see Georgia lose. Nice to see Florida State lose. I live up here, so it was up in Pennsylvania, so it was nice to see Penn State lose. Really, at this point, that's all we got left, man, is hate watching. So hopefully everybody goes 0 for the rest of the season, including Ole Miss.
That was a big win for them over LSU, team that previously beat Florida, of course. So the Lane train is steamrolling right now.
Nussmeier looked great yet again.
It's so because I want to give you tons of credit on that, but then I was just like, well, Lagway was on the opposite of that, and we get slapped in the face with that one. But
I really wish I was 1 for 1, the other, or 1 out of 2, the other direction.
Exactly.
It's like, why can't we have it be Nussmeier's great and Lagway's great, and I have to eat a little bit of crow on that one rather than they both suck, and I have to eat crow on the Lagway one. But I do continue to take solace in that I'm not a terrible analyst every time I go watch LSU have an average 5.8 yards per throw again and put up 16 points or 13 points against, relatively average teams. So anyway, congrats to Ole Miss. I should probably, they got some guy from Division III playing quarterback, and he's flinging it all over the place. So.
Ferris State, I think.
Hotbed of college football recruiting for Mr. Kiffin right there. It's been an interesting season thus far when that's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference.
Man, tell me about it. Just slides him in like nothing's going on.
He's been better than the starter. That's the crazy part. You bring him in, he's better than the starter. It gives all those fans who are sitting there saying, the backup quarterback's got to be better than this. You're like, well, if you got the right coach, apparently that's true.
I guess so. So, all right, Texas coming up this week, Will, for the Gators. And, it's a team that's kind of facing their own questions right now. Only really know about them playing Ohio State. We weren't going to really learn much about who else they've played this year, losing that opener versus Ohio State. So, bye week before this game for the Gators, and we'll get into all that. But, it's kind of crazy, but Texas is coming to town, and it's still about Florida. What can Florida take out of a 1-3 start and the bye week that they just had? What can they take out of trying to Billy Napier said go back to the drawing board? We'll kind of go back to what maybe that meant there, but certainly Texas coming up, and there's not a whole lot we know about that team just besides the game they played against Ohio State and some cupcakes.
I guess, but they lost to Ohio State by a touchdown. That game was in Columbus, right?
Correct.
So, on the road, you lose to the number 1 team in the country in a relatively close game. Do we think Florida's within like 9 touchdowns of Ohio State right now? I mean, so, and I know there's been a lot of criticism about Arch Manning. Certainly, since that Ohio State game, he struggled in one game and has played decently in another one really well last week against an overmatched opponent. But let's be honest, Florida had LIU, and DJ Lagway didn't light it up against the Sharks this year. So, look, the story on this one for me is that Texas has the number one ranked defense in the country. If you look at against FBS opponents, they are the number one defense in the country, giving up 3.5 yards per play. They don't give up explosives at all. If you look at the kinds of explosives they give up, like even 10-yard plays, 20-yard plays, 30-yard plays, 40-yard plays, they're in the top 10 for each of those. Florida is 125th in every single offensive rating you can pick. So, and especially when it comes to explosives. So I know there's been a lot of talk. There's some stuff Nick Delatorre posted today about Lagway hitting a bomb in practice and proclaiming he was back. I mean, look, I hope so. But the reality is that this is if you were to ask me, given statistical profile, is this a place where Florida's going to get healthy on offense? I'd tell you, no. I think if they only had 60 yards passing against Miami, I'm really worried about how many yards passing they're going to have against Texas. Cause this idea that they can fix something in a week when they hadn't been able to fix it for the 6 months before makes me worried. I mean, they caught lightning in a bottle last year. I'm not sure they got it in them to do it again. You keep relying on that over and over and over again. Eventually you run out of the magic. And, the question then is it's tough when you start facing Texas A&M, Georgia, Florida State, when you got that gauntlet, and now Ole Miss and Tennessee are in there too, top 15 teams.
Don't leave out Mississippi State.
I texted you this weekend in the middle of that game when I saw the score and went, are we going to be able to beat Mississippi? And, the fact that we have to ask that question is depressing. So, look, can Florida get healthy in this one? I mean, honestly, if they go out and put up 35, I think we're all going to sit there and go, whoa, look what changed. But even if they do, it's so depressing that it takes a bye week to get your ass in gear for a season that only lasts 12 games. So it's great if they turn around. It's great if they win this game. It's great if the Swamp is alive and they come out of it 2-3. We'll talk about it. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll make jokes and all sorts of stuff. But I mean, they've just burned so much goodwill in every single pot. They can't afford a bad call at this point, right? An official makes a bad call in a close game. Sorry, 4 losses, you're out. Lagway makes one bad throw, gets taken the other way. Sorry, you're out. They just have. The story of the Billy Napier era has really been individually game by game. He hasn't done a very good job of increasing the Gators' margin for error. And I think really that's sort of what the 2025 season story is too, is that Florida just doesn't have any margin for error at this point at all. And they got a bunch of top 10 teams really coming up. And we can talk about the problems that Texas has. We can talk about Manning. They have a stout defense, just like they had a stout defense last year. And it was going to take Lagway being special and being better than Manning for Florida to win this game from the start. I think we thought that might be what we were getting. Maybe we'll still get it. Maybe he is back after a week off. And, they went 11-11s and 1s-on-1s this week and last week, apparently. So we'll see how that turns out on Saturday.
Yep. We'll get into all those storylines right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Hear from Billy Napier, hear from DJ Lagway. Before we get there, hey, well, we just talked about it. You can get in on the action at MyBookie with this game. Texas comes to the Swamp at 6.5-point favorites. The over-under for the game currently comes in at 42.5. So, look, Vegas not expecting an offensive shootout in this one. Florida hasn't done a great job covering this year. So, is that the play again? If you think so, go bet it at MyBookie. Bet it at mybookie.ag. It's your one-stop sports book and casino all in one. One account, one wallet, bet football all weekend and spend some time hitting the slots. You don't have to switch apps. You don't have to jump to another platform. Just straight up action at MyBookie. Get on the NFL action. MyBookie has it all under one roof. Game lines, player props, and more. Get in on the NFL Super Contest and Survivor Pools. And if you're new to MyBookie, use our promo code GATORS, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. Make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back with a bet back bonus. So no stress, just a one-time rollover on the return bet, so you're free to reload and keep firing. So sign up at mybookie.ag with promo code GATORS and claim your bet back bonus. All right, so here's the thing. Not going to really change the format of the show, Will. We've done it like this forever. I know many people don't want to hear from Billy Napier right now. that's just the nature of it right now. Kind of apathetic towards what he has to say. And look, I get it. A lot of it's just words. But one of the more popular topics still, and with the timing of it, Florida just had a bye week. If there's a time to change something, it's time to change something now. Well, Billy Napier was asked about the play calling, him calling plays once again.
Going back to the play calling aspect of it, some head coaches around the country have given that duty up just because of everything going on with the change of the sport. What ultimately gives you the conviction that this is the right decision for you and your team?
Well, it's year 8 for me, and I think it's the way we've done it. And I think it helped us get here, and it helped us. But, I mean, look, I think that there's a lot of guys that are still doing it too, right? I mean, you could argue both ways here, right? So I watched several that were doing it this weekend. So I think each year you're evaluating what is best for the team, for the staff. And certainly I think with who we had coming back, the quarterback in particular, I think is a huge piece of that puzzle, right? In terms of the verbiage, the system, the dialogue, how you teach the quarterback. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. And then certain situations present maybe an opportunity for a reset, right? And I think that you're always just evaluating what's best for this team, right? And I think, we're trying, that's ultimately what drives every decision that we do. No different than a lot of the changes that we made in the past, right? So I get it. Look, anytime, there's a lot of teams out there this weekend that struggled, and there's going to be criticism when you're not as productive, and that contributes to the team not winning. No different than, when you give up a lot of points, there's criticism on the other side, right? So I think we've got to play complementary football. And, this is a defense that we've worked 4 years on building and preparing, and they're playing at a high level. And we have to continue that. And now we have to get back to playing better on offense.
This one just came in my head. So, all right, he mentions the other side of the ball. He mentions defense. Isn't Florida on the third defensive coordinator right now?
Billy has never been one to read the room. Never been one to read the room. When early on with NIL, I remember I wrote a big article about like how he had said we're not going to go out and get in bidding wars for recruits. And I'm like, that might be true, but don't say it. Like, because then you won't get any donations because people don't think you need it because you're not getting into bidding wars. And honestly, the only thing he had to say today was, we evaluate everything every week. We've got plans for what we're going to do on the offense, and we're not going to tell you what we're going to change because we think that gives the team a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Right? You say that, and maybe people even hope that the offense doesn't look like it does. But I swear to God, on the 32nd straight orbit motion, like, like no one's going to be laughing about that Napier was out here with his jazz hands, letting everybody know that he's got a plan. It's like, the time for planning is over, dude. Win a freaking game. Like, and so you go out, you win against Texas, and you win convincingly. You can talk all you want about what we're building and where we're at, but where we're at right now is 1-3, 20-22, can't beat rivals. You look like crap every time you go on the road. Your team looks unprepared to start every season. The defense has been terrible every year except for the last 4 games last year and the first few this year. Like, this idea that it was like this slow build for the defense is complete garbage. He finally turned it over to Ron Roberts about halfway through last year, after the first bye week last year, and everything shifted. And so, you make a great point that he's gone through a bunch of defensive coordinators, decided that guy wasn't right, that guy wasn't right, that guy wasn't right. And fundamentally, and we pointed this out in our preseason magazine, fundamentally, there was a shift in philosophy when they went from Patrick Toney and Austin Armstrong to Ron Roberts. Like, they went from middle of the field closed, blitzing all the time, creepers, having defensive linemen, dropping back into coverage, sending more than 4 a lot. It was something like 30% of the time under Armstrong that they were blitzing, to much more of a bend but don't break, keep things in front of you, limit explosive plays, and trust your front four to get to the quarterback and create some havoc. And if you don't, you're going to struggle under Ron Roberts. So it's not just that they changed coordinators, it's that they changed philosophies. And so, in many ways, I think that's what Florida fans are looking for. But I think Florida fans at this point just don't care, right? I mean, you look at, the guy's saying he's staying as the offensive coordinator. Cool. Enjoy riding that down. You're the violinist on the Titanic playing as the ship goes down. That's fine. Most Florida fans want to see him drown. So it's not really that. So, he talked in this press conference about like wanting Florida fans to come out and support the team and be loud and be a home field advantage against Texas and all that sort of stuff. And he's actually the thing that's preventing that, right? I mean, it's not just that he's here. It's that he comes out in the middle of or at the beginning of the week and says something asinine like, I've been offensive coordinator for 8 years and that's how we got to where we are today. And we're like, we know, we want you fired. Like, we know, we want you gone.
That's how we got here. I mean, as soon as that was put out on social media today, you knew what the reaction was going to be. Yeah,
here's look, can Florida not afford a teleprompter? Like, put a teleprompter in front of the guy so he could just talk coach speak. Like, we always, like, part of me is a little bit like, he gives us great content every week. I mean, it's the same shit he says every week, but it's like, it's so counter to like the thing you want to hear that it's something good to talk about, I suppose. But for the love of God, I can't take it anymore where they talk about their plan and how they're putting guys in position to succeed and how, like, the offensive coordination under him gives them the best shot to win and puts the players in the best position.
Continuity.
BS. BS. The offense has been complete garbage for the first 4 games. You made a choice at Austin Arm. You made what conceivably is a difficult choice last year to basically put Armstrong on the shelf and let Roberts take over. It's time to do the same thing on offense. And the fact that nobody either has the ability or the stones to tell him that within the walls, or that he's not listening when they tell him that, is a problem. And fundamentally, look, the offense is why he's not going to be the Florida coach next year. As much as I'd love to see this turn around, and as much as I'd love to see, like, Florida get to where I wanted them to get earlier this season, I really want to see Lagway turn around. Like, I think he's got it in him, and I certainly don't want him to, if nothing else, just to come out and be a decent player so that we're not sitting there going, man, he completely ruined him. But God, read the room, man. Look in the mirror. Buy a teleprompter, run it by your wife first. She'd tell you that's a stupid thing to say. Like, that's one of the best things my wife is she's like a great governor for, should I say this or should I not? Before I tweet it out, I go, hon, like, is this a wise thing to put online? She's like, well, do you want to spend the next 6 hours online defending yourself? I'm like, not really. And she's like, well, then don't put that thing out there, you moron. And, it's like, there's, I don't know what to say, man. I'm so fed up. I'm just fed up with everything. I'm fed up with the losing. I'm fed up with the fact that he's not like angry that they're losing. I'm fed up that he won't call out players or coaches or whoever specifically. I'm fed up that he won't sit there and say, yeah, it's not good enough. And even if he says, I'm going to fix it, he at least either had like a concrete plan. Like, he needs to go up there with like a PowerPoint presentation, like his 5-point plan of like how he's going to improve things. First thing, no orbit motion on every play, but no wide receiver screens when there's not a numbers advantage. No running out of the pistol 80% of the time. Like, something, like, put something on there that's beneficial, but he's not going to. And I guess the silver lining is that there's only 8 more games where we have to hear the pregame press conference, and that's sort of where I'm at this point.
The total offense will gotten worse every season under Napier. 37th in 2022, 46th in 2023, 66th last season, 113th right now. So, and look, I'm I'm conservative by nature in a whole lot of things. I'm all for doing it your way. Look, you had that whole article, the Napier conundrum and all that in your preseason article. We've referenced it many a times, and I've said this before. I'm all for doing it your way. It's what got you here, giving it a try. But, man, you have to move fast and forward and adapt in this sport or get left behind. And that's what's happened here. And, look, I thought with the way offense has been recruited, especially at quarterback and receiver, that there's a chance for a breakthrough. But, no. I mean, many of us saw a need for an offensive coordinator after you won, at the very least, just to kind of help clean up the game day operation from silly mistakes and trends. But it keeps being brought up because you just wonder if he'll ever change. And even more so now because of the terrible start to the season. This was the bye week. If you were ever going to change it and you're hanging on a lifeline right now, this would be it. This would be it. But, this is coming into this season. This was supposed to be your best offense. It's supposed to be that. And here we are at a bye week, and it's the same old, same old. And, you just could have been this one last chance, one last grasp, one last chance to hand over the wheel. But he's not handing over the wheel. He's just steering it till it falls in the ocean.
This is the equivalent of your wife asking you if she looks fat. And you nodding and going, yeah, you're a pig. It's just, and look, my wife is not fat. I've never had to say anything like that, but she might have had to say that about me a couple of times. But it's like, you gain nothing. Like, if she says, do I look fat in this? The only answer is, no, you look awesome. Right? There's no other acceptable answer in any case. And it's the same thing when they ask about being the offensive coordinator. Like, there's no other acceptable answer other than no comment or no. those are the only acceptable answers at this point with the Gator community. And honestly, he would actually build himself equity if he said, yeah, I'm going to let Russ call the plays this week. Like, we're going to see how it goes. And then if it crashes and burns, he could be like, see, y'all, I told you. But instead, we're going to get the same crap about how, like, I think it puts the players in the best place to succeed. And you really have to, it's the people within these walls who know what's going on. And I like the attitude of our guys and all this sort of stuff. It's like, okay, like, I've been hearing this for 4 years now. I bought into it coming into this year, and I feel like an idiot for doing it. I looked at it. I mean, literally, I had an entire article that said, I don't trust the guy. And then I had an entire section where I said, Lagway's going to carry us. And it turns out that, on the balance of Florida football, boy, is that Billy Napier weight heavy. And it's just like drags everybody down. So, look, I wish the guy well. I hope he does well wherever he goes. I hope Georgia hires him as the offensive coordinator in the next year or two and, gives him an opportunity to really rev up what they're doing up there in Athens. But as far as I'm concerned, look, I mean, I think we're all out anyway, so I'm not sure that you could be even more out. But like I said, just read the room, man. Like, there is a PR component to being the head coach of a major football program. And Billy Napier finds a way to just surprise me with the lack of self-awareness on a week-to-week basis. Nowhere is that more apparent than the comments today, which again is not just I'm the offensive coordinator. It's I'm the offensive coordinator, and that got us where we are today. And we're all like, yeah. We agree.
We know.
That's the problem. Like, that is the issue that we wish for you to solve. Please solve it. Like, please. I can't sit there and watch the Gatorade Player of the Year look like the worst quarterback in the country. Again, I like, what have you done to the guy? Because I know he's better than this. I know he is. So there's only one place for the blame to sit. It's sitting right there with Billy Napier, and good grief. Hopefully it's less than 8 press conferences. That's all I got to say.
Well, on that angle of the Gatorade Player of the Year, Napier does speak about, what the bye week meant for quarterback DJ Lagway.
The offense during the bye week, what did you feel like you accomplished, and what were some of the, kind of points of emphasis or concerns in terms of that?
Yeah, I think more. We did quite a bit of just 11 on 11 full speed work with DJ. Just trying to get caught up for him. I think that was important. Just more live bullets, with him and the other players. And I think that that's what he needs, and I think that that's ultimately what we decided to go with. So we did quite a bit of competitive work, ones-on-ones, twos-on-twos. Obviously, some of the players that have played a lot of snaps around here, we tried to take care of. But, in general, I thought that was beneficial for him and what he needed.
When you said Thursday, because last year, I think you referenced later in the season how that Thursday practice was like maybe one of the best you'd seen. Did you see something, any spark last week, maybe similar to a year ago that might ignite this thing?
Yeah, seeing a look in Tu's eye, I think that's important. I think that's ultimately, I'm trying to get, we're trying to do our best for him, in terms of creating an environment where he can continue to get back in his rhythm. That's the most important thing right now.
Well, there's Napier there, and here we are talking about, we had to reference last year's bye week again. Shouldn't that, I was under the impression whatever they did in that bye week last year, they were going to carry over into the offseason. So kind of going back to your point you made earlier, Will, how many times can you keep going back to that well of, we'll turn things around during the bye week. We did it last year. Okay, you had a whole offseason to do that too. But I think the hope as far as this regard goes, Will, is there a switch for DJ Lagway? And not that one that he can just flip when he wants to. One that flips when he gets enough reps, when he gets all those live bullets Billy Napier's talking about there. Does that exist? I think we have to ask the question. We don't know whether it does or not, but you got to hope all those reps last week in the bye week pay off for the ones that all the ones he missed in spring and fall. If there's going to be, it's got to come at some point if DJ Lagway is going to turn it around. And you mentioned Nick's message earlier about having a good week of practice last week and hitting a deep pass and quoting Lagway saying I'm back. Well, that's all well and good. We will have to see it on the field with 11 versus 11 against Texas on Saturday before everybody's willing to jump on board and be there. But you have to explain it when you're asked a question that way if you're Napier, but kind of going to that storyline. Yeah, they're all the reps eventually to me are going to have to add up to some positive outcome for DJ Lagway if he's going to be the guy that we think he can be. It's just hard to know with all the time he missed, when is it going to flip? Is it going to flip? I think it will. So I guess that's why I'm wording it the way I'm wording it. If, when will it flip? I believe it will. I still think there's something there now. Will he live up to the expectation that I put on him before this preseason, before you put on him in preseason? Probably not with the way so far he is behind. But I still think there's something there where he can be a competent, good quarterback.
Yeah, even competent and good is disappointing for the guy who's the Gatorade Player of the Year, right?
It is.
I think. How do I respond to this? I would say that unless Lagway was live and they could hit him, I think it's really hard to fix what was going on during that bye week. Because the thing that I saw was that even when he had good pockets, he was dropping in his eyes early and he was looking to escape pockets, even when the pass protection was good. He was going through his progressions too quick. There was a really good, I think it might have been Aaron Murray did a film breakdown of what he was doing on some spacing. And he was like getting to his second and his third guy before his shoulders and his head was able to manipulate the defense. So the whole spacing concept fell apart because Lagway was going through his progressions too quickly, which, is something where it's like, okay, you got to kind of pace yourself to allow a linebacker to move, to open up the next space and open up the next space. Can that get fixed? I mean, we'll see. I mean, yes, some of the pacing and some of the some of the timing on the progressions. But again, I mean, I get that he was sitting there all year long or all off season long, but the guy didn't have a hurt calf during the spring. He had a hurt shoulder. So like taking a snap and taking your drop and looking at the progressions are all things he could have been doing back then. The only difference now is he's got to let the ball go with good footwork and get the ball there. Now, that's been a struggle at times too this year, is, being accurate with those sorts of things. But, a lot of it has been either guys haven't been open, the play call's been bad, the pass protection's broken down, or he's felt the pass protection breaking down even when it hasn't. And that last part is the one that worries me, because when you're a quarterback, you saw this with Sam Darnold with the Jets. He even came out of the game, he started talking about seeing ghosts. And what that really means for a quarterback is, instead of looking downfield for the big play, your eyes are going down so that you're looking at the defensive line to seeing, to figuring out, how am I going to get out of this pocket? And, that's what I've seen the last couple of weeks with Lagway. Is I don't, not going to put words in his mouth, but is a little bit of that Sam Darnold with the Jets seeing ghosts type of stuff. And those are the things where obviously Darnold's come out of it and has been a very, very good player in the NFL since then, the last couple of years. But it took time. It took the right offensive coordinator. It took a scheme that sort of accentuated his strengths and mitigated his weaknesses. And I mean, the funny thing is that it's almost like, by having an off season for this coaching staff to talk to him about the nuances of their offense, that he has now, they have now figured out a way to jam a square peg into a round hole, rather than just going, do what you did the last 4 games of last year. You throw a couple of picks, no big deal. But let's read back to front, because you seem to like going deep and you seem to like taking those shots. And, Bud Davis has been harping all year long on heavy box, zone, and Florida doesn't know what to do with it, right? You play zone behind a heavy box. You can't run the ball. You can't run them out of it. And they're playing zone behind it, and your quarterback can't fit it into those zones, is going through too quickly through his reads. So, I don't have a ton of hope that things are going to turn around against the best defense in the country. And if it was like 4 games in and you're like, yeah, Texas hasn't really played anybody other than Ohio State, and Ohio State's had some struggles too, and all that sort of stuff, I'd be like, okay, that's one question. But the problem is Texas had like the best defense in the country last year too, right? So it's like this is a multi-year sample size of this team being an elite defense. So, it's great that he's looked great in practice, that he's been chucking the ball deep, that they've got answers, hopefully, for some of the stuff that defenses are doing to them, and they've been able to go back and look at the film and kind of figure that out. But let's be honest, the minute Lagway shows that he can defeat the things that defenses have been throwing him over and over and over again, Texas is going to have 2 or 3 wrinkles off of that, where they're going to say, hey, let's see if you've prepared for the next thing on the exam, right? And if all he's prepared for is the exam he's already gotten, this defense is good enough. Like, I haven't seen much nobody has had to do much post-snap movement, because when you do post-snap movement on defense, it gets you out of position. And no one's had to do that, because they've just sat in their base defense and said, we don't think you can read it. And that's what's happened. And so, there will be a time where he gets to a point where he proves he can read that. And now the next thing is going to be, all right, we're going to show you middle of the field open, and then we're going to switch to middle of the field closed. And you're going to chuck one right down the middle of the field. We're going to have a safety sitting there, or vice versa. And, is he going to be prepared for that when it comes? I think Lagway has the ability to do it. I'm not sure that, since they're playing catch up, as Billy Napier says, that they have the ability to prepare him. Like, the thing they ought to be preparing for this week is not like getting Florida and Lagway prepared to where he can run the offense. They ought to be getting prepared for the best defense in the country on the other side of the ball. And instead of preparing individually for the opponent, they're just trying to get everybody caught up. It's not a good place to be when you're heading into the gauntlet that Florida's about to head into.
Yeah, that's a delicate balance right now of trying to bring him along while game plan at the same time. I mean, and I asked him that question a couple of weeks ago in the SEC teleconference, and kind of danced around it. Not really a straight answer towards that. And it's really just about, the progress of Lagway pretty much is where he kind of just falls on that. But it is. I mean, it's a crazy balance right now of having to get your quarterback just game ready and trying to catch him up through 4 games of where maybe he should be. But yeah, he's nowhere near that right now, and it kind of goes back to how I introduced it was when does the switch flip? And I guess if it does, but here is DJ Lagway talking about it too, of what they worked on during the bye week. Will, you mentioned some of that right here, and let's hear from the quarterback on his progress through the bye week heading into Texas.
Guarantee that things would change. How have you seen the guys rally around that message during the bye week?
Oh man, it's been great. We had a lot of tough conversations, as a leadership group and stuff like that. But I feel like we're in a great space and ready to attack the week.
And Billy specifically said that you had a look in your eye this week. How much has this week meant for you and your personal confidence?
Oh, it was great. Just get out there and compete. Honestly, this is my first really week of just good on good reps the whole practice. So it was just great to get out there and compete against the first team defense that's been playing really well. So just always good to go out there and compete and have fun. And yeah.
Do you feel caught up yet?
Say it again?
Do you feel caught up yet?
For sure, yeah. I feel.
It's a long time to miss.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's always continued development in the game. Of course, just missing those 9 months were priceless. But I definitely feel like every single day I'm getting caught up to the speed and getting better.
A lot of people are going to sit here and overanalyze and don't really know. Looking at your mechanics, looking at footwork, all these things. What is something that you went in last week on, this is something that I got to work on to get better, to play better?
Yeah, I definitely say just my pocket awareness and pocket movement, and stuff like that, working on my pocket movement, keeping my base, finishing through throws and things like that. And I feel like that's something where, the practice and the reps come in place, just getting used to the pocket, continue to fill in it. But I feel like every single day I'm getting more comfortable in it and getting better.
How do you process, just not playing to your standard? How do you go about kind of processing that in your head? It's like anybody who's competitive, man. You're going to kind of brood on it, be frustrated, but you got to move forward.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely frustrating. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not frustrating. It's very frustrating, but like we talked about in the beginning of the offseason, always got to have a good process. Sometimes you may not get the results that you want, but being process-oriented and always finding ways how to better your process, and the results going to come.
And last week, you feel like you made a lot of strides?
Yes, sir. I feel like I know the results haven't been looking the way they are for me personally on my playing level, but I feel like every single week I'm getting better and better, and eventually it's going to pop. And when they pop, it's going to be hard to stop. I'm telling you that now.
Coach Napier talked about downfield passing is a little bit of a point of emphasis during the bye week, and that's how you kind of popped on the scene. I mean, how did that go for you, and how confident are you that, maybe that aspect of the offense can change?
Yeah, for sure. It was great week of practice, last week, and being able to connect down the field with some marquee guys, and just having that confidence, and that ability just to trust my receivers and just continue to build that chemistry with those guys are priceless. So, yeah.
How do doubts and losing games fuel you?
Yeah. I'll say I really, that definitely fuels me. Nobody likes to lose, and if you're on this team and you like to lose, you shouldn't be on the squad, and that's point blank period, and that's kind of what we're preaching, as a leadership group. But I'll say, it definitely lights a fire under you. Nobody likes to lose, so every single day I'm stepping on the field, every single day I'm watching film by myself with my guys or with Coach O'Hara or Coach Napier. I'm being very meticulous, very, everything matters. So, yeah.
There we go, hearing from DJ Lagway and his progress during the bye week. And well, kind of based off of coming off of what we just previously talked about, Napier talking about Lagway. Part of this for me too, is there ever a point, and I talked about flipping the switch, but I guess on a more basic question in that same line, is there ever a point where he just feels comfortable? I mean, that's where it's at for me right now. I don't know how comfortable he is. Missing all that time, he doesn't look comfortable, and I wonder what he trusts. I don't think he trusts himself right now. I don't know if he trusts the offense right now. I mean, in front of a microphone, he's going to say all the good things, but the play on the field doesn't show me that he trusts what he sees out there right now. He doesn't trust what he needs to do in this offense. Does he trust himself? Does he trust the offensive line? Does he trust the offense in general? I mean, I just don't know if there's ever a point he's going to feel comfortable enough, at least going to the level you and I want him to be at. But Maybe it gets to an acceptable level, but man, he could go out there and play good Saturday and Florida still lose this game. And right now, that's all that matters. You're 1-3. Wins and losses are all that's going to matter. DJ Lagway can go out there and throw for 350 yards on Saturday. But if Florida loses this game, it's not going to make us all feel better. Because now you're just staring 1-4 in the face, kind of going to the earlier point that you made. The equity's gone. You've kind of dug your own grave here. I hope for him he can go out there and have a good game and maybe something you build on. But, man, he's got to just feel comfortable first. I don't know if he's going to get to that point.
There's one quote there that he said, and I hadn't listened to Lagway until you just showed that. There was one quote there that just made me, sit up straight and go, oh, my God. The first week of good-on-good reps that he's had this season, the first week of good reps that he's had this season.
Could he have meant that it's the first full week I've done it?
Well, I mean, if you're going to write a epitaph on the bottom of Billy Napier's tombstone when this season's over, it's going to be, he didn't get his starting quarterback any real reps before the season started. And then that quarterback looked like garbage for the first 4 games. And if everything turns around, I will that statement right there. If Lagway throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and Florida loses, is going to be how I start my recap article. It's going to be, you had an opportunity. Yeah, and I don't know how serious the injuries were, and I don't know what they were trying to do in terms of babying them along and all those sorts of things. But what were you doing before Long Island? What were you doing before USF?
Now I've asked those questions many a time.
And then after that, what were you doing before LSU? You didn't need fantastic quarterback performances in those. You needed competent quarterback performances in those games. And look, even against Miami, competence would have gotten them to where they needed to go. And if a first week of good reps all of a sudden restores DJ Lagway to being a star, then what that suggests is that the staff has zero idea of how to prepare a quarterback for the season, which honestly shouldn't surprise me, given that we saw the Miami and Texas A&M games last year and the Utah game and the Utah and Kentucky games the year before. Yeah. And it's funny, even if you look at that Kentucky game where Mertz had pretty good numbers, he was terrible in the first quarter and the game was over by the time it was. So,
I saw your own jazz hands there.
You did. I don't know what they've done with my favorite recruit ever. I just don't know what they've done. I watched the kid in high school and no one could stop him. I watched him last year and no one could stop him. And somehow they've figured out a way to completely take away all of his confidence, make him try to execute an offense like Graham Mertz, even though he was never going to have Mertz's accuracy at those short and intermediate distances. And they've taken away his ability to go deep. So look, they're going to open it up this week and Florida's going to lose 35-31 or something. And there'll be a bunch of Napier defenders who are like, look, he's so close. It's like he's been so close for 4 years now. And so close doesn't matter in college football. It makes zero difference. And that right there, the first week of good reps for a guy who obviously has been injured, and you keep talking about having to get him caught up. We got to get him caught up. Well, at some point you got to take a risk. And the risk after you look like garbage against USF is to take a step back and go, you know what, we're going to put on full pads 3 days this week. And maybe we're going to be a little bit sore heading into that LSU game, but our quarterback's going to be prepared to go. And instead, we wound up with 5 interceptions and then a guy who looked really scared to throw an interception the next week. And, yeah, I don't know, man. I got nothing. I was out on Napier last year after Texas A&M. I was really out on him after Texas. Roped me back in, even though I knew better. And I'm not getting roped back in this year. I will not. They can win the next 8 games, and I will laud the team and the players and all that sort of stuff the rest of the season. And I will be there for it, and I will watch it, and I will enjoy every minute of it. I'm still out. I'm out. I will not pick this team to finish if Napier somehow miraculously figures out how to get back, I'm going to remember this and pick them to go 1-2, 1-3, 2-2 to start next season.
There you go. I was about to say he could finish 9-3 and I'll be like, What's the start of next year going to bring me? Rinse and repeat again? Nah. So I mean,
maybe they'll actually run the ball.
Beginning of the season, beginning of the seasons can hold you back. Like, what's the saying? You can't win a national championship in September, but you can certainly lose one.
Yeah, Napier knows how to do that.
There you go. So I mean, that's just where we're at. I mean,
hey, we found something he's good at.
we found the momentum.
It's looking on the bright side for me. We found something he's good at. Congratulations. Like I said, new offensive coordinator at Georgia. I'm here for it.
Hey, let's go to just something we can just analyze for a second. Aspects of the offense that need to get better. And here's another thing. I thought about this during the bye week a little bit, Will. It sucks for this defense because they get overlooked. They're doing a good job. We talk about them a little bit, but this thing has just been so ugly. And it's been so ugly on offense. That's just where the content has to go. Kind of where the conversation has to go. Defense is getting overlooked. I hate it. But that's just kind of where we are right now with this. Because a lot of this is big picture stuff too. You know, the head coach at Florida. Not just a bad offense. It's just because the offense is bad when it was expected to be good. When the team was expected to be so good. So yeah, it's just kind of where it's at right now. But aspects of this offense that need to get better. Deep ball and third down. So in deep ball, surprisingly, we thought this was going to be a key instrument in this offense. It's nowhere to be found. Thought, of course, you'd be able to just rely on that. Offense may not be consistent, but you have the explosive plays. Well, that's not there. Well, it is something they worked on during the bye week.
Area where we need to improve, whether it is missed opportunities or protection issues or just lack of called vertical plays. You know, I think there's parts of that as well. So I think all things contribute to it, and we need to do a better job in the vertical passing game. I think it was a point of emphasis last week.
So going back to the first talking point of this, lack of called vertical plays. Who's the play caller? I mean, but okay. Don't get me wrong. That kind of sounds like a joke, but no, he brought it up. Lack of vertical shots called. Okay, well, he's the play caller. No need to rehash that point. But he did bring up the point of, and it could be this, it could be that. Well, that's what we've kind of said about this offense. And yeah, you can pick and choose some plays. And look, some plays are there. Some plays aren't there. But it does look like, you can certainly tell, and it might be because it's predictable in some sort, where Florida's going to go for that deep shot. Then you know what? The right tackle olays. Or Lagway seeing ghost, or a receiver can't get open. It's just not, it's never one consistent issue of why Florida can't go deep, can't hit a big play in this offense. It's just, what was the quote? A calamity of errors or something I said a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's just, that's what you get with this offense. And this is where, to me, where you see it the most. Is because you got to have time to have those deep plays. And this offense is nowhere near living up to their reputation either. And I think this is where you see it the most. The part where you see, I thought you'd be able to rely on a run game. We've seen some good from Jaden Ball. We haven't seen explosive plays at all in this passing game. So I'm glad it's an emphasis. I'm glad we heard the stuff that they're working on with DJ Lagway. But yeah, this one right here is number one for me because it can at least put you in some games more so than you have been. You may not be consistent, but you might hit those deep plays, those big shots. We haven't seen it at all for something we thought we'd be able to rely on this year.
I mean, I've been harping on it all year long that when they get to 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, they never take a deep shot. They just don't. They try to get the first down so that they have a new set of downs rather than trying to hit the deep ball. And, the problem is that when you take the deep shot on 1st and 10, you now feel like, especially in Napier's offense and Napier's sort of conservative mindset, you feel like you got to get in 3rd and manageable at that point. And to be honest, given the way Lagway's played, Like, it's not like he's getting you out of a lot of 2nd and 10s and 3rd and 10s either. And so, yeah, I'd be hesitant to take a bunch of deep shots on 1st and 10, I think. But obviously that's a running down, so you can run play action and those sorts of things. Florida's fundamental flaw is that they can't run the ball. Like, we can talk all we want about deep shots, but they can't run the ball. They're averaging 2.5 yards per rush when they rush behind their right tackle and right guard. And if you're averaging 2.5, and that's a staple of what they run, is running the running back behind that right side of the offensive line, because then when they fake it with the quarterback coming back on the read option, he's coming back on the left-hand side. They're running for 4 yards per rush behind the left tackle and left guard. This is the 3 games not against Long Island. They're averaging 4.4 yards per rush on the outside. So outside the tackles to the left, they're averaging 5.5 yards per rush on the outside on the right-hand side. So they're more effective running out on the edges than they are running inside. They're more effective running left when they run inside than when they run right. And so if you go back and look at Florida's tendencies, I can almost guarantee you that they probably run more to the right than they do to the left inside. And I don't know whether they run more to the right or the left outside, because they rarely run outside. And some of those per yard rushing averages are probably tied with some. I mean, they had an explosive with Jacoby Jackson a couple of weeks ago, and those sorts of things. So they will not hit deep balls unless they start taking shots when they get to 2nd and short and 3rd and short. They will not hit deep balls unless they make the defense creep up and respect the run. And they haven't shown a commitment to the run to make the defense move up.
True.
They haven't shown an ability to run the ball to make the defense creep up. And so the defense has basically been happy showing a heavy box and then dropping out of it into a zone, and Lagway doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. And the receivers haven't really been able to go out there and do anything all that significant, though. When you look at things like Pro Football Focus, and again, Pro Football Focus, not the be-all, end-all of statistics, but Aiden Mizell, the highest-ranked Gator on Pro Football Focus, by far, he's ranked 87.6. He's got 32 total plays, 32 total snaps over the course of the year.
Apparently he can't stay healthy, apparently.
Well, I mean, maybe, but Jaden Baugh, 168 snaps. He's at 77.1. They've got some offensive linemen who are up there pretty high. They got Austin Barbers at 77.5, and they got Jake Slaughter at 74.7. So we're talking about the left side of the offensive line. Start utilizing that, right? Like, where does it start? It starts with actually throwing a pitch early in the game, not waiting until the second half to do it. It starts with running DJ Lagway in order to get yourself into positive situations. There were, that the power run that they got the first down on the 4th down and then running him on the next play. Those are things the defense doesn't expect, because you don't do it very often. And all of a sudden, now that you're going against tendency, I'd love to see him just play action out of the pistol, because everybody knows you run out of the pistol. So get into a 2nd and short, get in the pistol, and fake it. That's how you're going to get the deep shot open. I'd also like to see him actually fake it and roll out, as opposed to fake it and having Lagway sit in the pocket. If he's already going to leave the pocket anyway, let's protect him, give him a little bit extra time by having him roll out and giving him a half field read. So there's a lot of stuff they can do, but none of the stuff that I'm saying here is like brain surgery. This isn't like who was it this past week? It was Purdue, who I guess it was maybe 2 weeks ago. Like, Purdue ran like an inside trap and then had the quarterback like run outside, and the running back turned and threw a lateral to the quarterback, and he just ran in for a touchdown. There's a play that Nick Knudsen sent me for Tennessee where they had an outside receiver block like it was going to be a screen, and then he slipped, and all of a sudden he was wide open for a touchdown. Like, I get that you have your staple of tighty-whitey plays, and Billy Napier is definitely the dad standing in the shadows where all he's got is the tighty-whities on. But at some point, you have to do something tricky or unpredictable or something off of your base offense. So 2nd and 1 thus far has been an automatic run for a first down for Florida, if they've been able to get the first down. But it's been an automatic running play. Maybe we should go away from that. Maybe we should throw the ball every once in a while in that place. Maybe we should run the ball on first down on the outside, trying to get somebody out there. Maybe you can fake the pitch to the outside, then roll Lagway the other direction with a tight end dragging across the formation for like an easy 8, 9, 10-yard gain. Like the thing that's really just flummoxed me about all this stuff is in college football, because the hashes are so wide, there's always a guy open. You can't cover everybody and it becomes really apparent if you know how to read defenses, who's going to come open at different times. And you can scheme it open if you know what you're doing. You just need a guy pulling the trigger who can find that guy who's open all the time. But when I look at some of these plays, like Florida doesn't utilize the fact that you've got those hash marks in order to get guys open coming across. Like, I mean, it should be pretty easy to run a mesh concept against man coverage and have somebody pop open. It should be pretty easy to run Mills against some of the, a Spurrier favorite against some of these defenses that they've been showing with heavy boxes where you're overloading particular areas and making safeties make choices. But they haven't been able to do any of that this year. Look, that's not to say they haven't run it and maybe the players haven't executed, but I can't remember the last time they threw the ball on 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2. It's always let's get the first down to put us in a position to be able to throw the ball on first down because now we're in a better position. And it reminds me of a pitcher who refuses to throw a curveball on 2 and 2 because he's afraid to go to 3 and 2 because he might walk the hitter. And it's like, you got to have confidence that once you get to 3 and 2, you're going to be able to throw a strike and you're going to be able to throw a good strike. Because if you don't have the confidence to do that, you can't throw the breaking ball 2 and 2. And it turns out everybody knows that pitcher who doesn't have the confidence and isn't going to throw the breaking ball 2-2. And so you have a major advantage because you know what's coming. And same thing, we know the fastball's coming on 0-0 and we know the fastball's coming 2-2. And so does the defense. And until that changes, they can talk about repping deep shots. This is not about again, I'll reference Bud Davis, our buddy there on X.
Well, I'll pull something up too. So go ahead.
He does a really nice job of, I think, describing that play design and play sequencing are two different things. And that play design is, did you get the right spacing? Is the concept solid? Are you able to put the defense in a situation where they have to make choices, where your quarterback can make a read? And if he makes the right read, you're always going to have somebody coming open versus play sequencing, which is, do you have the defense looking for something else when you call the play such that they are able to then you get more out of it than just the thing that was originally designed, because now the defense is out of position. You make one guy miss and all of a sudden the 5-yard gain turns into a 50-yard gain. I mean, how many times do you see it against Florida where there's this little pick play and, all of a sudden there's a guy running free and it ends up being a 25, 30-yard gain on a throw where the quarterback had to throw the ball 5 yards in the air. When's the last time Florida had one of those? It's pretty rare. And I think it has a lot to do with sequencing, not necessarily the actual play designs.
All right. Well, on that, you mentioned Bud Davis, and he put out today, I let him know I was going to use this, Billy Napier deep route usage. So here's a table Bud put out on X today. And the highlights that he put out on Twitter were 10.7% fewer deep routes in 25 compared to 2022. He says maybe adjusting based on targets plus performance. In 2022, AR and deep targets ripped, so he leaned more on explosives. In 2023, Mertz deep struggled, so more shallow. And then, of course, in 2025, deep targets were struggling so far. I mean, pretty interesting there, Will. I mean, 47.3% deep route percentage in 2022, all the way down to 36.6 right now. I do think some of that is trust. And we talked about trust earlier for DJ Lagway. I'm thinking even for more so Billy Napier. Offensive line doesn't give time for some of these deep shots. Your quarterback is struggling, so I think that too. So that's probably some of it, but it was a point of emphasis. He said it for the bye week. It was a point of emphasis to call more deep shots, figure out what's going wrong so they can have more success in that area. They certainly need it there. But it was a pretty, we didn't know at the time when Bud put this out that deep targets and deep passes were going to be part of the press conference today. But this does show a pretty good start performance from, Billy Napier's 2022 season with AR and Justin Shorter leading the explosive charge to what we see now not happening. I mean, the only deep explosive pass is the one-handed catch by VB3. And that was a miraculous catch. If that one doesn't happen, there's not one at all. And that's still versus LIU. So that's what we're looking at as far as the deep passing percentage or deep passing plays for the Gators offense right now. And it's alarming to see it in number form like this.
Yeah, I mean, look, and Texas knows this is what Florida's been working on.
Yeah,
like Texas is Texas is going to take one or two tacks here. They might just sit in that heavy box zone and say, "Hey, we'll see." But
that's what
I'm going to guess early on that they're going to take a chance, and I think they can probably get the knockout blow if they get a pick of Lagway. So I think they're going to show that. And then when Florida gets in a position where they think they're going to take a deep shot, and again, this is why I think sequencing is so important, because if Florida takes deep shots out of the pistol, they play action fake on first down. Very rarely does it happen on second or third after they've gotten into a position where, a lot of teams tend to take those sorts of shots. Florida
anywhere close to midfield.
Yep. Hopefully they don't run that reverse back to the quarterback trick play that they run all the time. But so I think when Florida gets into position to take that deep shot, I think Texas is going to be ready. And I think they're going to show Lagway something in the secondary that makes him think he's got the shot. And then I think they're going to move out of it right after the snap. And he's got his back turned to the defense as he runs that play action. And that's going to be where the rubber meets the road. Right? Where the rubber meets the road is going to be, does he chuck it up into triple coverage like he did against LSU? Or is he going to learn? Is he going to check down and say, okay, now it's time to take that underneath? I have no problem with taking a check down and taking the first down if that's what the defense gives you. If the defense wins the rep and you just have to check it down, take the first down on 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1, and that's what you get, fine. But running a trap or running a dive on 3rd and 1 or a read option where the quarterback's run around the edge for 2.5 yards is essentially saying we're going to play for the next play. And what's going to happen is they're going to do that at some point because this is the way Napier operates. They're going to be in 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1. They're going to get a first down. It's going to be like at Texas's 46, 47 yard lines. They'll be right close to midfield, like you said. And on that first down, they'll get in the pistol, they'll run a play action. And the question is going to be, 1, is Lagway willing to let the ball go? And 2, is Texas going to stay in the defense that they showed pre-snap so that Florida feels like so that what Lagway gets is actually what he thought he got and can take advantage. If I was Texas, I'd bring the blitz to try to speed him up in that particular case, and I'd rotate out. I'd spin the safeties out of playing the coverage that he thinks he's got and put it in something different and say, nope, you're going to have to do this against a defense that you didn't think you were getting pre-snap when we think you're going to take that shot. And, we'll see what Florida does there. My guess is that hopefully the ball lands out of bounds.
Are the two most predictable scenario plays for Napier what you just outlined, the near midfield pistol play action deep shot, or the backed up on your old goal line roll out, pitch it to the tight end?
I mean, I wish we'd see that more often this year because he hasn't been running that much at all either.
But when we have seen it, it's been backed up and deep in their own territory. Like that's
the most predictable for Napier is 3rd and 6. He's running spacing. That's it. He's going to run that stupid spacing play.
Well, I was just talking about where you're at on the field as well.
Well, I mean, so
that's the two that stand out to me the most. So
I mean, yes, I agree with you that those are sort of the standard Napier play calls, but the spacing one is the one that drives me crazy because it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 every time. They run spacing. Mertz was able to run it pretty well. Lagway does not run that play well. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, let's put our guys in a position to succeed. Now we're going to run spacing. And yeah, I mean, it's a sequence thing. There's nothing wrong with spacing. But if the defense knows it's coming and is sitting in the right defense to be able to prevent it, then it's a problem. So we talked all offseason about the hope was that the Florida offense this year could dictate to the opposing defense what it needed to do. That no matter what the defense did, it was going to choose poorly.
Yeah.
But that relies on like having a trust in your quarterback, having a trust in your running game, having a trust in your offensive line that Florida just doesn't have right now. Like 2nd and 1 situations should be when you go for the jugular. It should always be when you go for the jugular.
Yeah.
Like it should be something where literally go, oh crap, they knew we were going for it, dump it off and get the first down. But the guy you're dumping it off to is wide open because the defense was like, oh crap, like, you know, we're gonna prevent him from going deep. Instead, it's like, no, we're going to get the first down and live to fight another day. And you know what you end up with when you do that? You end up with an offense that settles for field goals. You end up with an offense that doesn't have the ability to turn its scoring chances when it gets inside the opponent's 40 into actual touchdowns. Like the magic of Florida's offense last year was not methodically moving down the field and converting into a touchdown. It was DJ Lagway hitting Elijah Badger for 65 yards, Badger somehow getting tackled at the 2-yard line from behind, and then punching it in with Jaden Baugh 5 times against Kentucky. Like the magic was the throw. The magic was we're going to take these shots. And look, Florida's offense was incredibly inconsistent last year, even under Lagway. The difference is that Lagway averaged 10 yards an attempt because he was averaging something like 17 or 18 yards of completion because he was hitting so many of those deep shots and they were taking them. So like you showed in Bud's numbers, like they're not even taking them this year. And is the defense taking it away? Maybe, but then you have to run the ball. And if you can't run it up the middle, then you got to run it to the outside. Like you have to make them respect the fact that you're going to run the ball. And then when you get into a situation, and again, this is where I get so aggravated, is when you get into a situation where it's 2nd and 1 or 3rd and 1, you got to be willing to take the shot. Because if you're not willing to take the shot on 3rd and 1, if you don't think you can convert on 4th and 1, or if you're worried that, you know, you need to get the first down because the defense has to rest because, you know, you'll have to punt if you get stuffed on 3rd and 1, then we need some better 3rd and 1 plays. because when it turns from 3rd and 1 into 4th and 3, it's you know, because the defense is blitzing like crazy. I mean, again, Miami completely shut them down on a 3rd and 1 right at the end of the game. A little play action out to the tight end, and Florida wins that game. And as goofy as it is to say that Florida, when we made fun of Napier a couple weeks ago, we talked about how close Florida is. Florida is pretty close to being 3-1. But that's because of its defense, not because of anything they've done on the offensive side of the ball. And again, that's what we started this whole episode with is woohoo. The 8 years of offensive play calling have gotten us to where we are, and we don't like it.
Not at all. Something else we don't like. Will, you mentioned 3rd and 1 a lot there. Problem is Florida's not in 3rd and 1 a whole lot. The 3rd downs are awful for this Gator offense. We'll get into the numbers, but first, hear from Billy Napier on his thoughts on the 3rd down offense for the Gators.
Yeah, the numbers are a little out of whack in terms of you'd like to play a few more under 7, if that makes sense. Once you get to 7+, you know, the analytics are against you, but you'd like to keep it at 6 or less. 7's even okay, right? But we're definitely a little higher end. And then we've had a couple penalties in some of these situations where we go from 2 to 7 or 1 to 6, and I think that those have been costly. So, yeah, I think you're spot on. We keeping 3rd down manageable is important. And then you get on the plus side of the field, you benefit from 2-down approach on occasion. But, yeah, less exotics when you can run it. But any football team, I don't care who you are, the best in the game, you don't want to be living in long yardage situations. And certainly that's the case each week. It'll be really important this week too.
Will, 3rd down conversion offense, Florida's at 30.9%, about 31%. That is 122nd in the country, 15th in the SEC, averaging 3rd and 7, and that's about midway in the rankings, just the 44th percentile in game on paper. The website. So 44th percentile, averaging 3rd and 7. And for this offense, as we've seen, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So, you know, part of the problem, part of the issue that they're in 3rd and 7 is because the offense is not good. Well, the offense isn't good, so 3rd and 7 is not going to be converted all that many times either, as we've going back to it. Living in 3rd and 7, Will, and converting about 31%. That's 122nd in the country, 15th in the SEC.
Yeah, the offense is bad.
Another example of it right there.
I mean, we can only say they're 125th out of 130 FBS opponents in so many ways. Here's what I'll say is I'm just sorting on SEC StatCat. The last 3 games, Florida, when they've had 1 or 2 yards per play, or 1 or 2 yards to gain, they've thrown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 passes. Not one has been more than 20 yards in the air. Only 2 have been 11 to 20 yards in the air. So in the prime time real estate, so the 7 passes and 8 runs in those situations. So one, that tells you pretty crappy. They're only getting in that situation, again, the last 3 games, but they're only getting that situation 3, 4, 5 times a game max. But when they do, they're not taking any sort of shots. They're not doing anything to actually put their team in a position to score points. And here's the reality. Like, you can be conservative and you can try to get first downs and do all that sort of stuff. The reason I quote, or the reason I cite yards per play in everything, the reason I used it as the basis of the yards above replacement stat that I put together for quarterbacks, the reason is that when you look historically, and I did this a while back, I plotted for the last 10 years, yards per play on offense versus points scored. And the correlation is so much stronger for that stat than anything else. Better, more red zone percentage, more than, more than quarterback passing yards, more than rushing efficiency. Like, no matter what stat you look at, yards per play is the one that correlates to scoring. And that correlates specifically to explosives, and you have to set up explosives because they don't just grow on trees. Like, you got to actually take the explosive when the other team gives it to you. And the fact that they're dumping it off underneath on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 2nd and 2, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 suggests that they just don't want to take advantage of that. And the fact that they're not going to means I don't see a whole lot changing. I mean, I don't think, after 8 years, Billy Napier isn't going to change his spots here just because a few people got mad at him and yelled at him for being a poor offensive coordinator. He thinks that he's good at it. And, he continues to prove himself delusional, but that's just sort of the way it is.
Yeah, the third stat, living in 3rd and 7, that tells me right there. That's just one of the best examples of not being able to run the ball.
Well,
it's something we thought we'd be able to rely on somewhat, even if, with the limitations of Lagway, okay, you can run the ball till he comes around. No, that's why you're 1 and 3 right now, because you can't even do that. And you're living in 3rd and 7 because you just cannot run the ball whatsoever.
Well, and because every time they get any sort of positive play, they have a holding call.
You mentioned that too, yeah.
So then they have to run a screen to get in 2nd and 13s.
Yep.
Then they run the ball to get to 3rd and 9. And it's like, at some point, you get that holding call, you just got to start chucking it. Right? Yeah. Like, what is there to lose at this point, right? Like, there really should be, like, it should be balls to the wall at this point, right? Like, 2nd and 1 should be an automatic deep shot, play action deep shot with maybe a dump off underneath. If they run the ball on 2nd and 1, I'm out. You can't afford.
You're already out.
Well, maybe. Well, yes.
For the game.
Yeah, but I guess the point that I'm trying to make, maybe poorly, but the point that I'm trying to make is Texas is only going to give you a certain number of opportunities to score. And when you have one, you can't just pass it up to get a first down. Like, the first down means nothing if you don't actually take the shot, if you don't go after the opportunity. And that's the thing that I think is missing in all this conversation. It was the same thing against Miami. Like, you got yourself to 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1 a few times, and you didn't take the shot. And I mean, I literally, I think it was after the LSU game, I went back and looked at all of the 3rd downs. Yeah, because it was all the interceptions, because all the interceptions came on 3rd and long, and except for the last one. And the preceding plays were literally like false start, screen pass out to the right, run the ball. Oh, it's 3rd and 12. And now we get an interception, right? Like, it was dink and dunk. It was screen passes specifically. It was running the ball in situations where you were just trying to get to manageable. And then the defense was dictating to you what they wanted rather than the other way around. And Florida's going to have to start doing the dictating. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly. And honestly, given that Texas, I think, is just a better team, it's probably going to get ugly anyway. But, we shall see.
Yeah, there's usually that one home game a year. Last year it was 2, but maybe that it starts to trend, or there's a big home win. So maybe it's Saturday against Texas. I mean, I don't know how big of a win it would be because we don't know how overall good Texas is, but we'll see.
I mean, it would be a win.
Yeah.
Which at this point, like a damn win over an FBS opponent is actually like a stepping stone to something, right? I mean, they have a win over a lower division opponent and nothing else. So you got to start somewhere.
Give us something.
And the somewhere is a top 10 team sitting in front of you, in front of your home crowd. And certainly, it doesn't get any easier next week either. And so, you keep going down this rabbit hole and it just gets more and more depressing. So, I mean, look, it sucks to come on here and talk about the team like this. But the reality is that, I mean, we're not going to sit here and like pull the wool over people's eyes. The offense has been terrible. And the bigger fear that I have, Dave, and I've mentioned this a few times, I know people have taken a little bit of umbrage with it, but I don't think the defense has been that great either. I think the defense has been able to hold opposing offenses down to allow Florida to stay in these games. I think they were good against Miami. I think they were average against LSU. And I think in many ways they were bad against USF. And you can blame it on the guys were looking over at the sideline when they gave up an explosive. Well, they're still looking over at the sideline. That's part of the defense, right? Is if the defensive coordinator isn't getting the call in correctly and you give up an 80-yard pass, well, that's still on the defense. And so, like, I don't think they're a bad defense, but I think the underlying statistics suggest they are not as good as what people are hyping them up to be. Like, they are not Texas's defense. And at some point, the dam is going to break, considering that the offense hasn't been able to do anything over the course of the year. And so, my big worry is it's going to get ugly at home with Texas, where it's just like, if Lagway doesn't improve very much and the defense starts to show some cracks, it's conceivable we could be looking at Strickland wandering the sidelines with the Texas score up, same way we did last year. And I mean, God, I can't take that embarrassment 2 years in a row.
Yeah, we'll see. This is, I mean, I don't know what to expect Saturday, except that, I don't expect Florida to win. But I just don't know I just don't know what it looks like. I think the bye week helps, but man, I just don't know how much. Texas hasn't played anybody since Ohio State, so they've been gearing up for this game for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Arch, if he ends up in the end zone, doesn't taunt our players after he gets in like he did the guy from Sam Houston State last week.
I want to cheer for something. I don't want to cheer for a firing. I mean,
I mean, again, I might cheer for a firing if he runs 10 straight orbit motions to open up the game. Or if he runs spacing on the first 3rd and 6, I might lose it at that point. That somebody was asking me about the F-bomb I had made that I throw at the TV from time to time. It definitely has made an appearance the last couple of weeks. In fact, Max brought it to me before he went to bed the other night for the Miami game, because he knew that I needed it. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just depressing because I remember being a little taken aback that you picked Florida to win this game. Like, before the season started, you had Florida beating Texas. And I was sitting there going, wow, like, that's like, if you think they're beating Texas, like, look, I had them 9-3 and limping, sneaking into the playoffs. But I'm like, if you got them beating Texas, like, that's a legit national championship contender. And so, man, in 4 weeks, we've come from legit national championship contender to a team that barely knows how to complete the forward pass. Or at least to its own team. And that's just, oh my God. Like, I mean, what do you want us to say? Like, I'd love to be optimistic, but there ain't anything to say other than, for the love of God, please turn it around.
Yeah, not gonna live in that world for the sake of it. And we never have. So
well, we'll see. The season starts today. The season starts this week, or Dave, starts this week. It's real now. Like, we're the time for play is over.
It's only real after a first loss, or the second, or the third. Oh no, it's only real after the first bye week.
Well, the good news is we have a second bye week for it to get real again, too.
Okay. Man, I need to go take some medicine.
They're so bad, they've got you sick.
Yeah. All right. Well, only with the rest of the week a whole, we'll do trying to figure out schedule on my end as far as Texas preview goes. But we'll do it like we always do right here on this episode of Gators Breakdown. Will, what you later in the week, you doing your normal preview as well?
Yeah, we'll have a Texas preview. I'm putting up stuff on Patreon for the SEC quarterbacks. It's a bad story for Lagway, but we'll be doing that all season long, putting up what the quarterbacks look like in the conference. If nothing else, it points out why Lane Kiffin's name is brought up so much, considering the guys he's got playing there. But also, it's depressing too, because every team Florida plays has quarterbacks on the downside of that graph. It just so happens that Lagway's way further down than the rest of them. So, we'll keep putting out content, man. Like, there's still stuff to talk about, and there's never a dull moment. It's concerning to me that never a dull moment right now is like looking at the press conferences, just going, "Did he really call his wife fat? Like, is that really what he's doing? Like, did he just do that right there?" It's like, oh my God, he did just do that right there, huh? Probably not the best move in the world there, Billy.
We'll probably be saying that a lot of times Saturday too.
At least it's 3:30, so we can sleep.
Yes. Make it back to Jacksonville at a decent time. So, all right, here we go. Will Miles at Will Miles SEC. Check him out at Read and Reaction. I'm the host of Gators Breakdown, David Waters. Find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining us on this episode of Gators Breakdown.